AITA accused of being cruel and heartless to my stepfamily because I resent Dad for bringing me into it to begin with. When I, 20M, was 10, my dad came home one day and said he met someone and he was in love with her and they were moving in and then he would marry her to make us a family. He told me she had 2 kids and one had autism. He said changes would need to be made to our house before they moved in for safety. And he had me help adapt our house. When I wasn't happy about it, he told me not to be so negative about it. And I'd have a brother and sister after this, and we'd have a bigger family. He told me it was a good chance after losing Mom 2 years before that point. The day they moved in was chaotic, and I moved into a tiny room. So I would have to share with my 5-year-old stepbrother, because to keep my bedroom I had to share it. My stepbrother was a lot worse than I was prepared for. He would explode into these outbursts, and he had to wear a brace on his head to stop him seriously hurting himself. But he would slam into people too, and a few times he ended up getting hurt when slamming into me, because my instinct was to protect myself. There were times he spent hours screaming and throwing things, and he had to be contained into one room so nobody else got hurt. But a few times my dad's wife couldn't do it, and I was yelled at because I didn't get my stepsister, who was 3 when they moved in, to safety, and I just sat out of my room and didn't help. Then my dad and his wife had a baby together, and during his wife's pregnancy, I was expected to step up and help more. But I resented it. I hated being put in that position because of people I didn't want in my life. To me, it was being told I had to sacrifice my happiness in my life as I knew it for strangers who meant nothing to me and brought nothing positive into my life or my family. I had to give up my room or share with a younger kid who was violent and didn't sleep. I was asked to protect an even younger child from the violent child during outbursts and expected to care for this child like she was my sister, and I loved her when I didn't, and that's not to mention the fact I could no longer have friends over. I could no longer play video games because most video games were a trigger for him. And every time I went to stay with my grandparents for a sleepover, I was shamed for not taking my stepsister. Then I had a half-sister added to that shame once she was born, and also another who I was supposed to protect. Oh, and Dad had no time just for me anymore. My dad and his wife had visits from 2 therapists and a social/case worker who would provide them with resources for help and check to make sure things were going okay, which apparently that was okay. My dad and his wife complained about how much time I spent hidden in my room, but they weren't okay with me going to friends' houses or my grandparents' house either. When I entertained my stepsister, that was another big complaint, or when I refused to watch my stepbrother for a few minutes. It led me to leave without asking for permission and locking myself in my room when I was punished for it. So the punishment couldn't be babysit stepsister and or half-sister or help us with stepbrother. Even when he went into respite care temporarily, I was expected to use that to be fun with the girls. I was there until I was 15 when I basically went nuts one day when the social worker was visiting, and I let out all my resentment and hatred for them. She pulled me aside and we talked, and then she talked to my dad. He resisted, but she said it would be safer for everyone if I left. I was placed with my grandparents, and therapy with my dad was ordered, which he flaked on 80% of the time. My resentment didn't go away when I turned 18. I had no regrets about not being there anymore. I was so glad I was removed before COVID lockdowns happened, because I would have been stuck inside with them for a year, and that even after 3 years of being gone was a nightmare to me. Dad told me a few months ago he wanted to fix things, and I told him he couldn't. I said he made my life worse when he decided to blend families with his wife, and I would never stop resenting him for it. I said he could still feel it was worth it, but nothing good came out of that for me, and my feelings had not changed. I said I wish I could erase ever having met them. Since then, I get 1 or 2 messages a week from him or his wife accusing me of being cruel and heartless to my stepfamily, and especially the kids who don't deserve to be wished away like that. And I'm always reminded that one is my bio sibling too, and that I should be glad to have her and want a relationship. Ida?